In the USA, more than 600,000 people go missing annually. Luckily, the vast majority of missing persons cases are quickly resolved. But many of them completely disappear, vanish without a trace, just like Jimmy Hoffa, Amelia Earhart or D.B. Cooper, just like countless people, historical buildings, extinct species and lost artifacts throughout history. But what does it mean to disappear? How can something vanish so completely that nothing remains? Where do people go when they disappear? Where do letters go when we burn them? Where do airplanes or ships vanish to? Where do deleted files go? Let's start with that last question. Imagine you download an album onto your computer, listen to it, and realise it's not as great as your friend said. What do? You delete the file. But you know it's still there, sitting in your computer's digital trash bin. So you empty the trash and move on. Yet the file isn't really gone. It's still on your computer, just marked as deleted. When you delete a file, you're not erasing the data itself, just the markers that tell your system where to find it. And without those markers, the file seems to disappear. You can delete, overwrite, or physically destroy files, but there's always a chance, however small, that the right or wrong person could recover them. Because of this, corporations and governments often send obsolete hard drives to distant landfills, hoping to bury their data forever. But even in these digital graveyards, scavengers sometimes find forgotten files. At first glance, this cycle of disappearance seems endless. But what if everything we thought was lost suddenly reappeared? For missing people, that's often impossible. But take flight MH370, vanished in the Indian Ocean in 2014. Despite the most expensive search in history, its exact location remains unknown. Yet in a way, we do know where it is. We just don't have the markers to find it. And without those markers, it's as good as gone. If we lack markers, we lose access, not just to files, but to our memories. Our brains can forget information we learned just 10 minutes ago. So, how do memories get erased? German psychologist Hermann Ebbinghaus was one of the first to study memory scientifically. His research showed that within 20 minutes, we forget 40% of what we've just learned. After a week, we remember less than 25%. But how long does it take to forget 100% of something? Forgetting often has unwanted consequences. It makes us lose important information. But like a computer with limited storage, the human brain can't keep everything. So, our memory is selective. But how does the brain decide what to keep and what to erase? We're not talking about dementia or medical conditions here, just the everyday phenomenon of forgetting. One theory says we forget what we don't use, like a path overgrown with grass after years of neglect. Another suggests that new information pushes out the old. Yet another claims we forget things when we lose the mental trigger that helps us recall them. In other words, just like a deleted file isn't truly gone, memories aren't erased. They just become inaccessible without the right trigger. Imagine walking into a massive library, looking for a book, but having no idea what it's called or who wrote it. In the film Memento, the protagonist fights his memory loss by using Polaroid photos as markers. Without them, he knows he'll forget everything within minutes. And while that's an extreme case, we all rely on memory triggers in daily life. One person who had a unique take on forgetting was Freud. He believed we don't just forget things randomly. Our unconscious mind chooses what to forget, often to protect us. Take Silent Hill 2, where the main character searches for his missing wife. Only later does he realize she's dead, and that he was the one who ended her life. But he had suppressed the memory, unable to face the guilt. Freud argued that painful emotions like guilt or shame make some memories easier to forget, and sometimes we suppress things so deeply that they shape our entire reality without us even realizing it. This brings us to an even bigger question, not just about forgetting, but about remembering. Collective memory isn't just a record of events, it's shaped by interpretation. That means history isn't just what happened, it's what people choose to remember. And in an age of misinformation, both memory and history are vulnerable to manipulation. That's why those in power often try to rewrite history, to shape how we remember the past, and in turn, control the present and future. False information spreads like a virus, infecting both individuals and entire societies. Nations often define themselves not by future ambitions, but by their relationship to the past. Consider the assassination of President John F. Kennedy in 1963. The official story, that he was killed by a lone gunman, Lee Harvey Oswald, was quickly cemented into history by the Warren Commission. But over the decades, that narrative has been relentlessly questioned. Polls consistently show that most Americans believe the government, or even the CIA itself, was involved in a cover-up or the killing. Why does this matter? Because the story we accept affects how we see our institutions. If JFK was murdered by a lone unstable man, it was a tragedy. But if the government silenced a president who opposed certain policies or power structures, it's a crisis of democracy. The facts don't change, but how we remember them does, and that in turn shapes trust in government, public discourse, and national identity. With so many forces trying to rewrite or control the past, how do we protect our memory? Philosopher Michel Foucault suggested that we fight back with counter-memory, challenging dominant narratives and actively questioning the stories we're told. Think of it as a battle over a computer file. If someone overwrites it with a new version, the old one is lost forever. And if we're not careful, the same thing happens with history. So when we forget something, we might think we're just clearing out unnecessary noise. But sometimes forgetting is exactly what those in power want us to do. Because memory isn't just about the past, it's the foundation of the future